Hola, queridos amigos, muy buenos días. Gracias por estar con nosotros en su programa Café con Leche, la voz de los latinos en América. Estamos transmitiendo desde hermosa 1470 AM, 96.9 FM y también estamos en Facebook Live y tenemos el día de hoy el gusto de tener al doctor David Bronstein. Él es un pediatra de enfermedades infecciosas de Kaiser Permanente. Él ha estado con nosotros anteriormente y es un excelente médico. Good morning, doctor. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Do you know, we are so happy to have you back because we really like the information that you gave us. Sometimes we feel that nobody pay attention to the Latinos, and you coming to the show is something really great for us. I want to ask you, could you please give us an update on where we are in the Antelope Valley with respect to COVID-19?
Yeah, so things are looking good right now. Just like in really much of the rest of the country, and definitely in California and LA County, in the Antelope Valley, our numbers are also getting quite a bit better with fewer numbers of cases, fewer people testing positive, and a lot fewer people in the hospital sick with COVID. So things are looking up.
Perfecto. Le estoy preguntando que nos hiciera favor de darnos una actualización de lo que está pasando aquí en el Valle del Antílope con el COVID-19. Dice, bueno, pues estamos en muy buena situación. No solamente hemos tenido buena suerte en California, también en el condado de Los Ángeles, incluso aquí en el Valle del Antílope estamos mucho mejor, con menos pacientes que en el examen resultan positivos y también muchos menos hospitalizados, lo que nos hace sentir muy bien. Doctor, and what is going to happen now? Do you know, we are so afraid that something happen again, that we have another ¿cómo se dice? Varianza, and that we have the problem again with the war and all these things happening. Do you think that could happen again?
It's hard to predict for sure. The one thing we've learned over the past 2 years is that we never quite know exactly what is going to happen, and so we need to make sure that we're prepared. It's very possible that there will be another variant that comes along. Hopefully, it won't be as bad as the ones we've seen so far, but we just never know. So I know right now we're in a place where we don't see and we don't know what the next variant is on the horizon or if there will even be one. And so it's reasonable to start getting our lives a little bit back to normal. And that's why we hear about, the rules that are changing, especially around masking. And that's okay while we're in a nice place, but we always have to be prepared and we have to be ready for as things change. We need to be able to pivot and go back to some of those precautions that we were taking before.
Perfecto. Le estoy preguntando qué es lo que va a pasar. Estamos tan temerosos de cuántas veces creemos que ya vamos a volver a la normalidad y nuevamente viene otra varianza y tenemos otra vez los mismos problemas. Dice, es muy difícil de predecir qué es lo que va a pasar, pero tenemos que estar preparados porque siempre hay la posibilidad y no sabemos qué tan mal, pero esperamos que si hay otra vez el virus con una variante, no va a ser tan malo como los que hemos tenido, pero en estos momentos pues no se ve. Por eso es que se han estado ya relajando todas las reglas que teníamos tan estrictas, ¿no? Y se refiere al uso de máscaras, dice, pero tenemos que estar preparados si la situación volviera a cambiar, de volver a usar las mismas precauciones que hemos estado usando en el pasado, de usar nuestra máscara, guardar las distancias, estar vacunados. But is it still important to have the vaccine if you haven't had it, doctor?
Absolutely, and that's a wonderful point. You beat me to it. So, no, the vaccine is tremendously important, especially because we don't know what's coming. And what we've seen is when you get the vaccine, you have protection not just against the specific form of COVID or variant that's in the vaccine, but it does give you cross-protection so far with all the other variants that we've seen or been exposed to. And that's really the goal. The goal is having the antibodies, having the immunity, so that when you are exposed to yet another variant, which could happen any time, you already have immunity ready to go, ready to fight it off, so it doesn't make you sick, and especially so it doesn't put you in the hospital or worse. So that's really, especially as we're, removing some of the precautions that we've been doing for the past several months at least, the best way of assuring that we stay healthy, if there is a new variant or if one of the old variants comes back again, is making sure that you have immunity from the vaccine. Even if you had the infection before, the combination of immunity from a past infection plus the robust immunity you get from the vaccine really gives you very good protection.
Perfecto, le preguntaba yo si aún cuando ya esto está cediendo, esto del COVID-19, todavía necesitamos vacunarnos para estar más protegidos. Dice, definitivamente es tremendamente importante que adquiramos la protección en contra del COVID-19, dice, porque como ustedes han visto, esta vacuna, aunque ya hayan estado enfermos, la vacuna le va a proveer los anticuerpos para protegerse de cualquier otra variante que pueda venir, así es que le va a proteger de que pueda enfermar gravemente o que vaya al hospital o incluso que pueda fallecer. Por eso es tan importante que nos apliquemos las vacunas y que observemos las medidas y vemos que otra vez algo sucede. For children, are you receiving more children to get the vaccine, or how is the tendency there?
It's still a little bit slower than we'd like to see it. I think more and more each day we are getting more kids coming in to get the vaccine, especially the kids 5 to 11, which is the group that isn't as covered and protected as we want them to be yet. So we are seeing more kids coming in, and definitely, just on a personal note, the more that I'm able to talk to my patients who I haven't seen for a while, when they come in and they have their questions and we talk and we make it comfortable for them to get the vaccine, more and more kids have been getting it. So that I find is very encouraging. I think now is really probably the most important time to make sure that our kids are covered with the vaccine and have that additional protection, because, you know, as everyone's been talking about over the last day or two, starting on, midnight on March 11th, I guess, or really functionally on March 14th, when kids go back to school on that Monday, many of the schools are going to no longer have that mask requirement. Now, it's strongly recommended that kids do continue to wear masks in school, and as parents, it's definitely something that we can do to protect our kids by ensuring that even though it's not required, the kids do continue to wear the mask to protect themselves. But in addition to wearing a mask, knowing that so many kids around may not be doing that, knowing that our kids are protected with the vaccine is tremendously important.
Bueno, le preguntaba yo cuál es el estado de niños, es que si se han continuado vacunando, dice, no en la medida que a mí me gustaría, dice, porque todavía tenemos bastantes niños en el grupo de los 5 a los 11 años de edad que todavía no se han vacunado. Dice, yo cuando hablo con los padres de mis pacientes que vienen a visitarme, pues hablamos de la posibilidad de que se vacunen para que estén totalmente protegidos, sobre todo ahora que se ha comentado que a partir del lunes marzo 14 ya no va a ser mandatorio usar el cubrebocas en los niños, dice. Sin embargo, yo les recomiendo que continúen observando esa práctica y bueno, primero que vacunen a sus niños y para que estén protegidos, y que además continúen observando la práctica de la máscara hasta que esto esté totalmente bajo control. I think, sometimes I feel like if we relax a little bit before the time, we are going to go back again and start all over again. It's like I prefer to use my cover face until the end. I'm going to be the last one to abandon that habit.
And that's okay. And I think all of us have different levels of comfort right now. I think what can and should make us more comfortable is knowing that we have the vaccine. That gives us protection. Anyone who's had a past infection plus the vaccine should have wonderful protection. And just knowing that the rates are low right now. Now, if you're someone who has chronic medical conditions, or if you're someone who has issues with your immune system, or you have kids with these issues, then of course we need to make sure that we take added precautions, added protection, even though everyone else seems to think it's okay to, be a little more cavalier and let their guard down. Certain individuals for sure need to take added precautions, or, a lot of us are just a little more concerned, a little more worried. And you know what? That's okay. We don't all come to these feelings of, carefreeness if at the same time. So I think what I would ask everybody is be patient with people who still aren't comfortable letting down their guard, and be patient with people who want to continue wearing the mask, and please allow them to do so. Even though it's not required, remember, these precautions are still strongly recommended by the CDC, by the state health department, by the local health department. There still is a strong recommendation that we continue to protect ourselves. So I don't want anyone to feel pressured into doing something they're not comfortable with.
Bueno, estamos hablando de todavía la posibilidad de que, le digo que yo voy a continuar usando la máscara hasta el final. Dice, yo creo que se le debe dar la libertad a todos que lo hagan. Dice, sobre todo si la persona tiene condiciones de salud que lo ponen en alto riesgo, o está en una edad más avanzada o muy pequeño, todos pueden seguir observando las mismas prácticas. No debemos de obligar a nadie a que las abandone, o si ellos deciden pues quitarse la máscara, también hay que respetarnos. Doctor, are we still in flu season, and if so, for how long?
So we are still in flu season. The numbers have come down, and until a few weeks ago, I would have said it looks like we're in good shape and flu is gone, but what we've seen over the past 2 to 3 weeks or so is the numbers starting to come back up again. Not as high as at the peak, which we saw, in January or so, especially when we started seeing some of the Omicron peaks. The flu was peaking as well. But there is an increase, and not just flu, but other viruses too. I've been seeing a lot of cases of lots of common cold viruses in kids right now, where we test them and it's not COVID, it's not flu. My guess is it's probably a rhinovirus or some other cause of the common cold, and we're seeing that in our lab, that those numbers are going up too. So definitely not too late to protect ourselves and our kids with the flu vaccine, knowing that it will continue to circulate probably at least for another few weeks. And you never know. Sometimes those numbers can shoot up pretty quickly, and the last thing we would want is to get through this COVID pandemic and then all of a sudden have lots of bad cases of influenza that in some cases can be equally harmful.
Bueno, estamos todavía en estación de la gripe, y por ¿qué tanto? Dijo, no, definitivamente vimos un pico en enero de la gripe, pero luego se redujo y ahora otra vez estamos viendo algunos casos. Es posible que se prolongue unas 3 semanas. Dice, pero lo que hemos visto que algunos presentan positivos, que tienen estos síntomas, presentan negativos cuando se les hace un test de COVID. Dice, y seguramente es un resfriado común, y también puede ser un virus que se llama rinovirus, un virus de la nariz. We are going to take a break and we will be back. Thank you. El abogado Ángelo Campano ya ha sido elegido 3 veces como el mejor abogado del Valle de la
Súbele al volumen.
Así que si sales lastimado en cualquier tipo de accidente, solo llámale al 661-945-5300.
Doctor, I'm going to join
y él ganará tu
the
caso.
other call,
Si no gana, no le debes nada. No esperes más. 661-945-5300.
Good morning.
661-945-5300.
How are you? Hold on a second, Christy. I'm going to I'm going to join Dr. Bronstein. Join. Queridos amigos, muy buenos días. Gracias por estar con nosotros en su programa Café con Leche, la voz de los latinos en América. Estamos transmitiendo desde Hermosa 1470 AM, 96.9 FM
Gracias por estar con nosotros. Estamos también en Facebook Live y el día de hoy tenemos el honor de tener al doctor David Bronstein de Kaiser Permanente. Él es un pediatra de enfermedades infecciosas y también se une en estos momentos a nuestra conversación a Christy Monteith. Ella es del Antelope Valley Hospital y es la coordinadora del programa de cáncer. Good morning, Christy. Doctor Bronstein, Christy Monteith is with us now.
Hi.
Uh-oh. Do you know? I don't know what happened. Let me. He's there. He's connected. I don't know, Doctor.
I'm still here too.
Oh, okay. I just want you to say good morning to Christy, please.
Oh, hi. Good morning, Christy.
Good morning, Dr. Bronstein.
It's a real pleasure to have the Antelope Valley Hospital and Kaiser at the same time. And Christy, could you tell us a little bit about the event that you are planning for this Saturday?
Yes, thank you for that. The Antelope Valley Medical Center Cancer Program is hosting a virtual educational event for the community on ways to prevent cervical cancer. It's this Saturday, March 5th, from 10:30 to 11:30, and it's going to be via Zoom.
Okay, let me translate that before I forget.
Okay.
Está el Antelope Valley, Centro Médico del Valle del Antílope. Les recuerdo que el Antelope Valley Hospital cambió a Antelope Valley Medical Center recientemente, es el nuevo nombre, y ellos van a tener un evento de prevención de cáncer cervicouterino que se va a llevar a cabo este sábado de las 10:30 a las 11:30, y la ventaja es que va a ser virtual, quiere decir que por nuestras computadoras podemos asistir a este tipo de evento. Would you please, Christy, tell us why it's so important to attend to this kind of events for the Latino community?
Yes, it's before I finish, the Zoom can be accessed on our website or on Eventbrite if anybody is interested in joining.
Perfect. Este evento lo puede localizar en Zoom o en Eventbrite, y I suppose that in the website of the Antelope Valley Medical Center you have a link too.
Yes.
Okay, también
there will be a flyer there with a link to the Zoom account.
También ahí pueden en el website del Antelope Valley Medical Center van a tener un link para unirse a la junta a través de Zoom. Es solamente de 10:30 a 11:30. Okay.
And the reason why this is so important is because up to about 99% of cervical cancer can be prevented by screening and HPV vaccination. And so it's very important that we let the community know how important it is to prevent cervical cancer and ensure that they're getting the appropriate screening.
Dice que le he preguntado por qué es importante que las personas asistan a este tipo de eventos. Dice porque 99% del cáncer cervicouterino se puede prevenir a través de una detección temprana, y dice y también a través de la vacuna del HPV, que es el virus del papiloma humano, que también se da. Okay, then you can continue, please, now.
Yes, and it's a very preventable cancer. It's estimated that there'll be about 14,000 new cases in 2022. So we really want to focus on this to ensure that the community is getting the proper screening and HPV vaccination to prevent cervical cancer.
Dice, entonces se ha determinado que hay la posibilidad de que se presenten aproximadamente 24,000 casos de cáncer cervicouterino. Por eso es tan importante que las personas asistan y entiendan que a través de la vacuna se puede prevenir este cáncer. And who can get the vaccine? From what ages to what ages?
Right, that's a great question. So Dr. Bronstein, did you want to add on the ages for the current vaccine requirements?
Absolutely. This is something that I've been passionate about for years, ever since we started having this vaccine. And so, we routinely vaccinate children starting at age 9. Now, of course, cervical cancer is not going to happen until later. But by giving kids the vaccine, and this is again something we routinely give to all kids starting at age 9, by giving the vaccine we can prevent cancer down the road. And so you form those antibodies early in life so that you don't get the HPV infection, which then goes on to cause cancer. So we do it at age 9. Routinely, we do it through age 26, but we can also give it to older adults as well, up through age 45, if indicated.
La vacuna, les preguntaba yo, ¿cuál es la edad en que tienes que tener para recibir la vacuna esta del papiloma humano? Dice que la vacuna se aplica desde la edad de los 9 años hasta los 26, y luego dice para adultos más grandes a los 45 años, si se recomienda. Pero esto va a producir anticuerpos para prevenir que haya cáncer cervical. So, who can tell me how do you get cervical cancer? Anyone?
So I can jump in here
Thanks.
if that's okay, but feel free to add on, Christy. But so cervical cancer almost exclusively, well, pretty much exclusively, is caused by the HPV virus. And so that's the beauty. I wish we had vaccines against all cancers. We don't, because most cancers are not caused by an infection. But when we think of folks who get cervical cancer specifically, those cancers are caused by the HPV virus. And if you can prevent someone from getting the virus, which is exactly what the vaccine can do, you prevent cancer. So it's a vaccine against the cancer. But it's not just cervical cancer. I think it's important to understand that there are more cancers as well. In fact, we're seeing more cases of oropharyngeal cancer, basically cancer in the back of the throat, that are caused by HPV than from any other causes too. So we can prevent cancers of the throat, cancers, other areas down below for boys and girls by giving the vaccine to kids as early as 9 years of age.
Bueno, le estaba yo preguntando cómo es que se produce este cáncer cervical. Dice, bueno, pues esto se produce a través de este virus del papiloma humano. Este virus de papiloma humano es el que va a producir el cáncer cervical. Dice, pero no solamente el cáncer cervical, también hemos visto ahora que está produciendo cáncer en la boca, atrás en la garganta, atrás de las anginas. Y esta vacuna puede prevenir también en otras áreas, también le puede provocar cáncer, y esta vacuna puede prevenir para que no se infecte con este virus. Dice, ojalá que tuviéramos varias virus que respondieran solamente a una vacuna para poder cuidar la enfermedad. Por eso es tan importante que de los niños desde los 9 hasta los 26 se apliquen la vacuna para estar protegidos en contra de esta terrible enfermedad que es el cáncer. I want to ask you something else. Then in this event, who is going to speak? Could you please tell us?
Yeah,
Christy?
so we will have Dr. De Leon, who's a gynecologist, and she's from City of Hope. And Dr. Bronstein will be speaking. He's a pediatric infectious disease from Kaiser, and myself, the cancer program coordinator. We will all be speaking at this event.
Bueno, va a estar el doctor de León, es un oncólogo de Kaiser, doctor Bronstein de Kaiser también, y también nos acompaña Christy Monteith de Antelope Valley Medical Center, que también van a estar ahí hablándonos de la necesidad de aplicar estas vacunas. Even though you haven't said it, appears to me like if it's related to when you start to be sexually active, when you are going to have the possibility to infect with HPV.
Right, exactly. That's primarily how the HPV virus is spread. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, it is through sexual activity. So I know one of the common questions I get from parents is, if my kid is not sexually active, and hopefully they won't be for many, many, many years, then why do they need to get the vaccine now? Shouldn't they wait until later? And there's two reasons. One is you want to get the vaccine well before you are sexually active, because if you're already exposed to HPV, it's too late. But the most important reason is the earlier kids get the vaccine, the better their immune response is going to be. So that when they are a lot later in life and become sexually active, they're going to have a really good immune response, really good antibodies, so they're not going to get the HPV virus. So we don't give it to 9-year-olds or 11-year-olds or even 13-year-olds thinking, oh, if they, we got to get it before they're sexually active. It's the earlier they get the vaccine, the more protection they're going to have a lot later in life, hopefully, when they need that protection.
Bueno, estamos hablando de cómo este virus del papiloma humano se transmite a través de tener relaciones sexuales. Y el doctor dice, muchos padres vienen a mí a preguntarme, ¿por qué recomiendan que sea a los 9 años que mi niño se ponga la vacuna si él no va a estar sexualmente activo hasta muchos años después? Dice, yo les recomiendo que se pongan la vacuna tan temprano porque en esa medida la vacuna va a protegerlos de mejor manera, su sistema inmunológico les va a proteger de mejor manera. Así es que cuando ellos ya tengan una actividad sexual, cuando eso suceda, entonces ellos no van a tener absolutamente ningún problema de contagio en lo absoluto. Así es que por eso es importante que se pongan la vacuna, pero asistan. Do you know if they are going to have the opportunity for people who speak Spanish like me to understand the message? Is there any way to understand if you speak only Spanish?
Oh, that's a great question. Unfortunately, the presentation will only be in English. However, it will be recorded and people can listen to it again after the event and perhaps maybe get some translation. But right now it will only be in English.
Well, do you know, this is the opportunity for everybody to practice our English. Tenemos que amigos, tenemos que aprender inglés. Esto es súper importante. De verdad, yo los invito a que hagan un esfuerzo por ir y entender. Are you going to have like a graphics or something that maybe even...
Yes. There'll
Perfect.
be presentations and pictures and some animation, yes, so everybody can at least watch.
Ok, los invitamos a que asistan y por eso nos hicieron favor de venir ahora para platicarnos un poco, pero asistan este sábado, es de 10:30 a 11:30. Could you repeat the time, please, really fast?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
The time to Saturday from what time to what time?
10:30 to 11:30.
10:30 a las 11:30 los invitamos al Antelope Valley Medical Center. Vaya ahí por el link y atienda el sábado. Dr. Bronstein, it was a pleasure to talk to you. Always you bring us excellent information. Christy, thank you very much. I wish you the best and I will see you there. Do you want to say goodbye to people, please?
Yes, thank you everybody, and we look forward to having you join the cervical cancer prevention event, and thank you for joining.
Gracias.
Yeah,
Bueno,
thank you, and thank you. Look forward to talking with you on Saturday here, and thank you for having me on again. Always appreciate it.
It's a real pleasure for both. Thank you very much for coming with us. Y amigos, no falten este sábado de 10:30 a 11:30 Antelope Valley Medical Center. Ahí está el link. Vamos a todos a aprender inglés y a enterarnos del papiloma humano que tantas cosas produce. Thank you. Bye bye. Adiós.
Thank you. Bye bye.
El anterior fue un programa pagado y Kaiser
Perfecto.
Broadcasting no